sunny. And I guess it was 50s, yeah.
I'm looking forward to this.
I know, hopefully soon, next couple weeks maybe.
This has been one of my longest vacations. Up until I retired.
Screen?
Well, since I traveled to the south, in January, February, so my work's been short. But I'm sure.
Look, they're getting some Jones online.
Yeah, now we're gonna get another big snowstorm, it's like.
What makes it?
Yeah.
What makes it?
Yeah, said he was coming.
We need a sixth person, we should do some heavy recruiting.
Yeah, last time I tried, this was like 2 weeks ago, I was like, nah.
I
I was in your age group, not our age group.
I have a 0% batting average on getting someone to join the ORC. I'll keep track.
I am wearing a mask because I tested negative until yesterday. I passed, and my leg has yet to pass.
Well, it should work. That's what this for.
I'm not getting any closer, and we shouldn't be here that long. I hear it was a smashing success.
It was quite the party.
The swag was appreciated.
Oh, good.
And that I'm apparently the social secretary for my daughter. So we're done with the end of the case. The wait for hours. That's 5:30. Start. All right. Quorum being present, calling the March 13th meeting of the Wiscasset Ordinance Review Committee to order. For computers 5:32. First order is minutes of January 9th.
Before that was September.
Make the motion, we accept it.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor of accepting the minutes as printed, say, indicate aye. And also those present. But those accepted. Next order is the proposed wireless telecommunications ordinance edition, which is a whopping one line under Article 11, wireless telecommunications, Section 3(9), we're adding D, allow local and county emergency operations communication devices that are installed and maintained free of charge. Brought forth by the selectmen.
The Brown Broadband Committee, wasn't
No, I thought it was Bill Maloney brought it, or at least that's what you had said in your
Well,
email.
we were directed.
it?
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, and I just wanted to, they had an application for,
You're working. It is working.
we had an application for the tower.
Yeah, that's.
And that's, yeah, that fell through, so.
Gee, ask the FAA, second. Okay. All right, does anybody have any questions, alterations, suggestions for that change? I don't know, but I can't see how this can go back on any tower that's already in existence in the town, so it's still a future tower. I think. That's probably the owner, I would be upset in a week.
Yeah.
After that, I told me. I had to
Especially no
do
cost.
the town.
I don't see the language, but I think I read the background and I read the newspaper with the select board minutes. It seems like a good thing.
I know,
Would
it's-
you all look at that on the- look up all the emails from Jackie? Yeah.
I approve the minutes. You're staying. We can retroactively vote. And we are discussing the one sentence addition to the telecommunications. Nobody else has.
I have no objection, so we're putting that in or taking it out.
We're putting it in.
I think it's fine.
And if you're not aware, the current, we had a planning board had a pre-application meeting with a tower. It's been withdrawn.
Yeah, I was at that meeting.
It was withdrawn. Or they're not going to actually submit that because they can't build it as high as they want to.
Because of the airport, which
Yeah.
I said that at the meeting. Anyway, I think we should open that slightly to allow for town, you know, it says for local and county emergency operations communications. But what about the town putting an antenna on for all its equipment?
Yeah. Gonna be able to do that much, we might as well get it all, cover everything.
Everything, well, there's a lot of communications going on for emergency operations communications.
Not for the parks department,
Oh,
school buses, you know, why not allow the locals to use it also?
Our trucks have radios in it.
Some of our equipment does.
That have their two-way radios for this.
It just, you know, just as long as you're opening it up, open it up all the way.
This is the wording that the selectmen
Sent to us.
sent to us. This is also the wording that will be on the public hearing at the next planning board meeting.
No,
Here we go, modify it.
I removed my suggestion.
All right, and then we need a motion to formally send this to the back of the select board.
They,
Oh, they already have, we're already
They
done
sent
with
it
it.
to
All
us.
right, we're done with it. Next order of business is the proposed property maintenance ordinance. And Jackie sent that out too. So far as I can tell, we changed everything, the important parts to basically having to do with the public health and safety. There's no longer a section where you can shut and make somebody mow their grass because it's 10 inches tall. Just on that basis.
this, in this, I think in all the changes that the ORC made previously on January 1. Because we never had a meeting after that, this is never gone to the selectmen, however, I put it
But
on,
it's on there.
I put it on the public hearing, so.
So, we have a motion to approve this to be forwarded to the select board.
I make a motion.
I second the motion.
Now we can discuss any changes we want. Anybody have any changes they want?
I thought we were voting, I don't have any changes.
Said tonight's gonna be short. It's basically approving this, plotting the eyes on some approval processes. All right, then, all those in favor, of what, forwarding it to the select board. That's printed.
Unanimous.
Is there any other business to come before the board tonight?
I'll just, if I can quickly just say, I'm working on the LD 2003 edits, so I have background information if anyone wants information on the LD 2003, just the printed law and the guidebook from DECD, but I will have a draft probably for the March 27th meeting for you to start looking at.
I think I have the published guide already.
Do you have the one that was, it's an updated guidance with the final rule that was issued like a week and a half ago? Not much has changed, but if you want a copy, I'm happy to pass it along.
No, I don't think anything in advance.
Okay.
There's no way we can make any of the changes in time that we could.
No, and I already told Dennis that, and he said that
Implementation deadline in July.
when I talked to Dennis about it, well, I talked to DECD because most towns can't make the July 1 deadline. They're still having the rulemaking closed today, the hearings on final rulemaking, so we don't even have a final rule yet. So when I met with DECD about 3 weeks ago, they said that they recognize that most towns aren't gonna make the July 1 deadline, and so they're not expecting anyone to be penalized for it. They'll keep working with towns to get it updated. And when I talked to Dennis, I said it's a little trickier than just like adding a chapter to the ordinance, because there's a lot of things that kind of need to be massaged and cross-referenced, so he understood that and recognized that it might be a special town meeting.
Oh, what was the planning board doing when on the first meeting in July, somebody walks in and says, I want mine.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out.
On my in-town lot.
As they said in one of the workshops, just heard my group as a reporter, when somebody asked that same question, she said, better hire a lawyer.
Great, state passes a law that makes us hire a lawyer. Wait a minute, we can get we can get some money back from developing the rules and regulations, right? Wasn't there a fund for that?
That's in final rulemaking too, for grant
Oh,
funding,
okay.
because there's grants for RPOs as well, well, planning organizations that we could go after to help towns. And,
It's called chumming, you throw a little bit of.
right, so the
So we
rulemaking,
use it to hire a lawyer.
well, the rulemaking, I think that pot of money for towns to access is $100,000, and it's first come, first served, whoever submits their receipts. So I'm pretty sure that money's gonna go real quick.
Instantly.
Yeah.
Thank you for that update or something. I meant to do.
LD 2003.
Yes,
Company.
Hmm?
Is it we have company tonight?
Yes, is, any questions or?
No, I'm just curious how the whole thing works. I'm relatively new to town.
You can sit closer.
Come
Yeah, I didn't know.
on.
There is a place open on the board.
Okay, so here's my question, more questions.
Good.
When you say the board,
I'm a committee, sorry.
okay, see, I've been on the website trying to figure out what's a board, what's a committee.
This is ordinance review committee.
This is a committee,
This
so
is a
people here
committee.
aren't elected,
No, we're
No.
appointed by
so you're appointed by
the select board.
the.
Three of us have to be from the planning board.
Okay, so there's 2 planning board and then
Three
town.
planning board members
Are
on
you
this.
Big Al?
Oh, yeah.
All I heard is Al, and I thought it has to be Big Al. Okay, everybody else is just a volunteer,
We're just regular.
Yeah.
regular.
And I'm also
And-
just a
and,
volunteer, not just a big.
Emily here is a contract employee from Lincoln County Planning,
From where? I'm sorry.
Lincoln County Planning Office.
Oh, okay.
We don't have a
Are
town,
right across from Big Al, with Big Al.
we're
we
new.
don't have a town planner anymore, but we contracted, as part of the town budget, we contract with the county for hours with the county's town,
Okay,
so she assists us both.
that's why all the papers.
Yes.
She assists us at this meeting
Said,
and
Comes
at planning,
prepared.
she assists us at this meeting and at planning board meetings.
Okay,
So
So-
we develop ordinances at the request of the select board. We don't self-initiate.
Develop or modify.
Yeah. develop
okay, so
ordinances.
that's why this language came from the select board, and you're like, okay, well then.
Yeah, that's unusual though. They usually just say, do this.
They say come up with a.
Tweak this.
Make a law, make a law about blasting.
Okay, and so you have access to information about grants?
I
law?
do, yes, yep, so, that's a little bit different than ordinance review. Ordinance review isn't gonna be applying for any grant applications, but the one I was talking about, LD 2003, has to do with adding affordable units, accessory dwelling units, and that's a law that came from the state last year that goes into effect July 1.
Okay,
So every town has to amend their ordinance language to meet the standards of LD 2003. So I'm working on that for the board to review for their next meeting.
okay. Accessory.
That's the second dwelling law.
Yeah,
Yeah, or 3 or 4. So then, like, 3 of us are on the planning board, which normally would meet after this, or at 7 o'clock, but we can go that one. For which I'm also here.
So
Once we've done it.
basically, a lot of people do a lot of.
Years on the board, it's been great.
Yeah, so I know our committee needs a person, the budget committee needs a person. We'll just start signing you up for things.
You've moved to town recently?
No, I moved to town, I'm a pandemic, whatever,
Relocation.
retiree,
Well, welcome to town.
thank you.
Yeah.
Like everybody, I got a life, and I have a 101-year-old mother who lives in New Jersey, so I've been back and forth and, whatever, but,
Welcome to my world.
yeah. So it's just, the more I read, the more I realize that the town actually doesn't run itself. like, you know.
It has a handful of hardworking volunteers.
Yeah, so I'm beginning to realize that, and, you know, I was raised by a vet who basically said, you don't get to complain unless you volunteer, so put up or shut up, and so I thought, okay, I better figure out what's happening and who's doing what, and what I care about, and, you know, where I can make a difference, so that's what I'm doing.
At the next planning board meeting, which is in 2 weeks, public hearings on the ordinances that we've been working on this year, so that will be, if there are no changes made, they will go to the selectmen to be put on the ballot for June.
Okay. And I mean, from what I saw on the website, like, those documents are available to people on the committee, but not necessarily for me to download.
Oh, Lord, they should be available for you. We ran into this last.
Right.
Yeah, I have sent them all to the town office, and it told them they should be available if anybody that asks, so you can ask
Oh,
them
okay.
at the front desk. And if they don't know anything about it, because they haven't been told.
You're gonna
yeah.
borrow my baseball bat.
Well, I mean, you know, it's just trying to find the website, like trying to find that this meeting was or wasn't on, was not easy.
Kathy is the one that I sent all the ordinances to, all the changes, and I would normally send them to Robin, but Robin's on vacation, so.
So basically, the select board everything starts there, goes down, and comes back, is basically how it works. Is that right?
Right, the planning board, which probably should be better called a review board, a site plan application review board, is also appointed by the select board, the selectmen.
Okay, so the selectmen,
But we kind of don't answer to them. We're there to review site plans and building plans and just say yes or no, strictly by what the law says. So that's when something like this comes down, where the state is mandating us change our ordinances to allow it. And yet it's really gonna happen because they're building the first small house inside one of my buildings right now. So, yeah, that's why they went into this whole line of work, was because of that ruling by the state. They felt that they built a lot of $1 million homes for a lot of people who, like me, have gotten white hair, and that they want to downsize, and they figured in their mind that if we built somebody a $1 million home 20 years ago or 10 years ago, and they want to downsize, but they like their neighborhood, they like their church, they like their neighbors, hey, we'll build them a little house and put it in their backyard for them, and let them rent out the big house, which is allowed by that legislation.
How big are these little houses?
They're building initially 2 models, a 500 square foot and an 800 square foot. But either one of them can have a quote unquote a module put on the end of it, a 400-foot module. So now they could be 500, 900, 800, 1200, maybe even 1600 if you put the module on both ends. So
so this is LD 203,
this is an
That's
effect of it, you know, that this company.
that's the state law.
Yeah, if you want a copy of it.
Yeah, I would like that.
And to address your comment about the website, it's a known issue that it could be more comprehensive or be updated more frequently. It's just a question of resources, and our town does a lot with a little.
Yeah, I mean, I do get that, and I wish I had the skill set to just say, okay, let's.
Yeah.
We'll give you the
I wish there was a high
site
school
and
intern or
make
something
it
who could
public.
learn, and then it would go on their resume, but it doesn't seem like there's been a good path of that yet.
Okay, that's that help.
In your last life, were you a developer of websites, who's gonna come along?
I wish. No, I am former nurse, educational administration. Not a techie, but I learn what I need to learn to get where I need to go, but in terms of skill sets, no.
And I have a smartphone with a gum operator.
I have smart.
I couldn't remember when you carried flip phones.
I know. Listen, somebody came up to me recently who was 39 or 38 years old and said to me, he says, I just want you to know, I've heard the story for years, that when my mother was pregnant, you had the only bag phone on the island, on the peninsula. And you were on call to take my mother to the hospital, and my father was a sea captain. It's true, it was 1985, I had this bag phone,
I remember them.
yeah.
Actually,
And I was on call to take the mother to the hospital if she went into labor while he was at
and that
sea.
giant thing, it was just, oh, that's all it did. It couldn't
It was
take
huge,
pictures, couldn't
it was
schedule it.
huge.
Couldn't run your schedule. The internet didn't probably do it. All right,
So I just have a quick question. So this goes to a planning board meeting, is that the idea? It's gonna
normally
discuss
at
this.
7 o'clock on the same night as the planning board.
Which
Not tonight, because we have no business.
dictated by what comes before the planning board, not from the selectmen, but from contractors and home builders and developers who want to do things in
Okay,
town.
so far, no one's responded to this document.
So that's
Bring
LD
something to the
That's
planning.
right, that's
Is that
LD,
correct?
that's correct. So LD 2003, the purpose of the ordinance review committee is to look at the draft changes that I'm gonna make to implement the legislation from the state level into the town's local ordinances.
Okay,
Once a draft has been reviewed, edited, and approved by the ORC, then goes to the select board to sign off and then schedule a public hearing with the planning board. And then it'll have to go to a special town meeting for a vote with the general public.
okay,
But by law, any change in ordinance has to be at a public hearing that goes through the public. The responsible agency is the planning board, even though they have little to do with that.
so since this is my first meeting, are there changes that are gonna be recommended to? planning
For
board?
this LD,
Right,
yeah, oh, there will be, that, yeah, I mean.
Once the,
So, right now.
pardon me. for
No,
going-
that's all right.
Once the contracted planner who works for the county and the town professionally goes through, because this is what she's licensed and known to do,
okay,
she'll come up with how we have to adapt it to our ordinances, which any change for the ordinance needs to be voted on at a town meeting, which in this case, it'll wind up being a special town meeting, because like Carl said before, what happens when the first person comes and says, hey, I want to put a second house on my property? And it's not blending to our ordinances, yet it's legal for them to do, so we have to do it properly.
right, got it. Okay,
But we also expect, I expect we're gonna get a subdivision application for the next meeting students. We expect a subdivision application.
Under this, or just,
No,
No.
yeah, just a regular,
Yeah.
just a regular subdivision.
well, actually, what it is, he wants to put 3 apartments in the houses with them.
Oh, he was here a couple of meetings ago.
We all raised our eyes, how many? How many houses are there?
Do you have specific areas of interest?
I have a lot, but I guess, you know, I live in the village, so my area of interest is the village. You know, as I live here and talk to people and read the history of the village, you know, there's a number of issues that concern me. The nuclear waste situation is one. The situation with the schools, I mean, you know, the fact that Wiscasset used to be rich and now it's not, so money is a perennial issue, and sometimes it seems to me, and of course I'm new, so I'm not fully educated in terms of history, but you know, it seems a little bit of penny wise, pound foolish a little bit, you know, and I'm wondering how, you know, maybe you're a grant expert, or at least you have access to grants, you know, so kind of those are my concerns. I mean, my husband and I moved here. We hope to live here until we die. We love it here, you know, but the more sort of we are here, we realize there are needs, the town has needs. And, you know, as I sort of look, and, you know, my daughter's thinking of moving to Maine, and I'm like, well, you know, I moved to Wiscasset, I hear the schools aren't that good, and I thought, well, I live here, you know, like, if that's a problem, veteran father comes into my brain, you know, put up or shut up. So, you know, I mean, yeah, I do have concerns that, you know, that we're looking at all possibilities to do as much as we can with as little as we can, considering as many of the neighbors and community members as we can. I mean, like last year, you know, I noticed that, you know, the pandemic was, you know, either lightening up or people were just sick of it, whatever, you know, there's all these businesses in town that had these little signs on that said, you know, no public restrooms. And I'm thinking, but you know, downtown is like, people go there to shop, and if you go to shop and you need to use a restroom, and every business in town has a no public restroom
Just kind
sign.
of 32-ounce whatever.
You know, I mean, it's, and it seemed like the easiest thing to fix. Not that porta potties are the most pleasant things ever, but if you gotta go, you gotta go. Just having some signage that said there are public
Restrooms. at the
restrooms
back
and
door
porta
the side,
potties
yeah.
here, here, and here. I mean, some of the things seem almost like no-brainers, except that somebody has to do it, somebody has to take it on as initiative, somebody has to talk to people, somebody has to get it done. It's not that hard, some of the things are very hard, very complex. That's why you get paid.
That's why my public restroom used 8 or 9 rolls of toilet paper a day, because it was a known clean restroom, and there was free coffee next to the restroom, and boy, did I go through toilet paper.
Well, you know, I go to Dan Scott and they built this thing. Now, we can't afford to build such a thing, but I mean, what it does, it says, you know, we understand tourism is a part of our community and we support it. And
We have an unheated thing in the summer. We have a building down
at the harbor,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's only seasonal because it's not heated and
but nobody could find it. I mean, if I came here as just a nobody.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had so many people, I mean, I live in the village and I walk my dog and I can't believe how many people have said, you know, crossing their legs. Do you know there's a public restroom?
I think they opened up the Scott Hall
Well, they tried to. I don't know
in
if
the
that's,
summer, they were going to,
they were going to.
I don't know.
But again, did they put signs up? I mean, so that's the
Yeah.
kind of
you're
thing,
right.
you know, as I
You're
live here,
absolutely right.
Yeah.
you know, I think like, okay, you know, there are big problems that I'm not. You know, I don't have a skill set to solve, but there are other issues that aren't that difficult.
As far as Maine Yankee, in your lifetime, my lifetime, and my grandson's lifetime, it's gonna be sitting right where it is.
Well, I see that, I guess King wrote
Pays
those
the town a lot of money still. but
still,
Still,
okay, well, that's good. We should
and
get
and believe it or
some.
not, as much money problems as we have, I think we still have $10 million in the reserve account. $11 million, we have a huge reserve account still left over from Maine Yankee days.
Well, the other
But
thing, you know,
we've been slowly eroding it every year.
Yeah, we use the interest to fund quite a lot.
It had been 16 to 17 million dollars a couple of years back, but it's slowly eroding
well,
down.
if it's in the market, God help us all.
That would-
But you know, the other thing that concerns me since you asked is, you know, the water treatment plant.
Mhm.
You know, climate change. I don't want to get into a whole political thing versus political body, but you know, sea levels are rising and that's a problem. And, you know, I've read the issues about relocating it up Federal Street or maybe on Westport Island, and I guess that's the most expensive option. But it's also the option that to me seems like it has the longest shelf life. So, you know, what do we do about that? What kind of monies are out there? Because to spend, I don't know, whatever it is, $20 million versus 50 million or whatever, I can't remember. To move it, so we get another 10, 15 years out of it, and then we're right back where we started versus, okay, you know, what's the longest term solution? Can we get that money? And if we can't get the money, then we can't get the money. Okay, then we go with plan B, but those are my concerns.
All very valid, thank you.
And I'm like, you should run for selectman, not for one of these.
Yeah.
And honestly, this week, somebody called and asked me to run for selectman, I told them I couldn't, but I think with the issues you're raising, I would love to see you run for selectman. Because the select, the selectmen are the
The
people,
thorn.
the selectmen are the people who have the tail that wags the dog that wags the tail. Everything goes through them, so,
Yeah.
boy, would I love to see you go for that.
If you give us your name, we'll know if you're on the ballot, we'll vote for you.
I think
It's also writing.
value in
Yes.
doing some of the boards and committees first, because then you have a solid foundation and understanding. To then, in a couple of years, when you run for select board and we all vote for you, you'll be
I'll
ready.
wait.
to, like, come in
See
and.
that, running,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh. But, I will tell you what I'm good at. I'm good at research. I can write and, I can be relatively dispassionate. I will, on full disclosure, I live down the street from St. Philip's and I'm not a fan right now.
You might be on my street.
Pardon?
You might live on my street. Do you live on Hodge?
I actually live on what nobody seems to know is an active public road. I live on Hammond.
Okay.
Mhm.
I live on Hodge.
But yeah, and, I have issues with them, so I want to be there. That's really what pushed me to be here, although I've been reading a lot about what's going on in the town prior to that, particularly about the water treatment plant and other things, like, I'm like, God, we need to deal with this as a town, but who's the we? The we is you guys who volunteer, and so, okay, I'm part of the we, and
A
I really
handful of
want to
people.
be a handful of people. And everyone's doing the best they can, and so I just, have to just say,
My last question, what's your name?
Karen Sullivan,
Thank you.
Glad to meet you.
Karen?
Sullivan.
She's writing the ballot.
I know.
Karen, I can feel it coming.
I might put you in the
I
minutes.
told my husband, I'm in for a dime, I'm in for a dollar, I'm not,
Good.
if I do it, I do it, and,
So you think
Somebody's
it's
got to
thinking
do it.
about it.
pardon?
Somebody's gotta do it.
I know, and, I don't pretend that the issues are simple
They're not gonna
at
do it.
all, they're not, and, it's, the solutions are probably never gonna make everybody happy, but, I'm really a person about transparency, because I think one of the worst things is people feeling like things are done behind their back and, without adequate information and notice, and so, and that's kind of why I'm here. I really want to understand how this whole thing works. I've started to read the 452 pages of the town ordinance. There's a recipe for insomnia right there.
Which revision? Which
Well, I don't know,
revision?
the one that's on the website, so please don't tell me yet that it's an old one, I can start over.
I believe it was under 200 when I came on.
That's Carl's main claim to fame.
No,
It's
because
over
I came
400
on because
right
they were
now.
too complex and too wide open too, but
Well, that's,
every
you know.
time we turn around, we got another 2 pages.
well, you start to read and then I start to look at the index and then I realize there's certain categories that aren't even in the index, so then I'm going back to read.
That's our website.
What's the last one, 10 or 11? This is a lot,
Yeah, you're
everything
right.
gets dumped in there.
There's actually a hard copy available. Well, anyway, so, that's kind of the way I approach things. I kind of do my reading and have very specific questions. And if I have questions that nothing seems to answer, then that's an issue that has to be raised, like, hasn't this been addressed anywhere? And do we need to do something like write an ordinance or go to the select board or get a grant or, something? I mean, I don't know. This is my first town meeting outside of, being a parent in a magnet school in Connecticut, so, I answer your question.
Was that, thank you.
I wish we still had town meetings where we met in high school for.
Can I make my favorite motion?
Yeah.
That at 6:05 PM we adjourn.
Second, oh, a second.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you, everybody. See you in 2 weeks.
You told me every day is a Saturday, but I think today's a Monday, because you had a work meeting.
Yes, it is.
There you go, Saturday's a Monday.
So I have one question, which is off, or whatever. Does the select board meet tomorrow? Do you know?
They have a,
They're supposed to have like
it's